Yeah.
Thank you. And the reason I'm up here, I want to be brief, is that since the age of about 8 that I can best recall, I've experienced depression in various forms. I can remember my mother often referring to my, what she called sulking. I had no idea I had any sense of control over it. And the point I would like to ask you about, because I just don't know what's happening, is my wife and I, often when we get into what we call the contrast, often we just say to the other gently, what's a better thought? And most of the time that works. But the reason I'm here, I wanted to talk to you and ask you, is because I don't know the answer. Sometimes my darling wife will say, what's a better thought? And it simply doesn't work. I don't feel I'm being lazy about trying to get out of it. It just doesn't happen. Whatever I do with all your teachings, I don't seem to be able to get out of my depression. It doesn't last forever, but other times I can get out of it quite clearly with the processes that you've taught us, but there's times when I seem completely stuck and there seems to be no way out.
First, we want to say that this is another reason for a new focused awareness of step 5 that we have come upon together today. An awkward analogy is sometimes you have to drive through a rough neighborhood on your way to the picnic ground. And if you can acknowledge that it's all part of the journey and that it's not something that you're doing wrong. Now, the reason that this is particularly important for you to hear is because, as you said, this is an expectation that's been going on for a long time, and it was amplified by your mother, who did not understand when you were merely in quiet contemplation. When you're in quiet contemplation, to others it can look like depression. If you're not bouncing off the wall with enthusiasm, if you're not outside in the sunshine doing something really fun, if you're not talking about something, then you can be misunderstood in your withdrawal into contemplation as depressed. And that certainly was often the case when you were a youngster. You were not depressed, you were just having your alone moment.
Yes.
Well, so many times people are dependent upon each other for the infusion of interest and so forth. But let's assume, because you can tell by the way you feel, there are differences in the way you feel. We started to say that depression for someone like you really is about lack of focus. But that's not completely accurate, because law of attraction is always underway. But every now and again, something will happen that triggers. It could be music. In fact, it often is some sound or some fragrance that actually starts a little bit of an activation on one of those other paths. Yes. And so the thoughts begin to come. And if you're not aware of the way you are feeling, then there will become enough traction that now you have a full-blown momentum, and under those conditions your words are accurate. We hear people say, Abraham, it does not feel to me like I'm thinking these thoughts, it feels to me like these thoughts are thinking me. And all it is that you allowed more momentum to get going than is really good for you. And the answer to it is take your step 5 moment. Say to yourself, there's a contrast in my vibration that without being aware I have activated, and it's coming in a strong enough way that I can't do anything about it, not right now, this red hot minute, but I could poke around in it a little bit and launch some rockets of clarity. In other words, utilize it to your advantage. Don't try to run away from it. Utilize it to your advantage, because if it's coming up often enough that you are saying, as you are today, that it's something that is a thing in your life experience, then it's a good idea to let it play out just a little bit and acknowledge, see what advantage or what clarity you can wring out of it, because you feel like you're doing something wrong when you feel that negative emotion. And we want you to know it's just your increased sensitivity to alignment that's making things that don't feel good stick out like bigger, sorer thumbs. That's really all that it is. Now, because you want to be bright and shiny for your beautiful women.
I do.
But we want you to realize that it's not your job to be bright and shiny for them. It's your job to feel good yourself. Just be easy about it and be playful about it and figure out what it's about. There's good stuff in that contrast.
Okay.
We might as well just give it to you since you're right here on the brink of discovering it anyway. Your sweet mother did not know what she was talking about. Yeah. She was projecting her depression on you.